Okay, Venus visits to the royal Teton. Many weeks. See, some of this is written wrong, so it gets confusing. It says any, capital A-N-Y, but there's no M. So many weeks have passed, and the morning of December 31st, 1930 came, and with it the Master Saint Germain. Be ready at 7 o'clock tonight, he instructed, and I will call for you. Focus your attention as much as possible on the glory of God within yourself, that you may receive the full benefit intended on the divine occasion. Remember your twin ray and sun, for the three of you will be honored guests, and the Brotherhood of the Royal Teton at their New Year's assembly tonight. I spent the remainder of the day in deep meditation. He arrived at 7 o'clock, and as I had already placed my physical body in bed, I stepped forth the one he had prepared for me. Tonight, he continued, an experiment is to be tried which has not been accomplished for over 70,000 years. We feel perfectly confident of the success on this occasion. As all are now well prepared, come, we must have traveled at great speed, although I did not realize it, and soon stood on the apex of the Royal Teton, where the heavy covering of the snow made it glisten in the moonlight like millions of diamonds. As we approached the entrance to the tube, I noticed a clearing around it for the radius of at least 100 feet. As we stepped into it, the atmosphere felt warm and comfortable. We passed on through the entrance, which had been open for those attending the New Year's celebration. Saint Germain and I entered a great audience chamber and met Lotus, our son, who had already arrived with their escort, Amen Bey. And that's a master, Amen Bey, A-M-E-N, Bey, B, capital B-E-Y. And Amen, like I said, at the end of Christians, they always say Amen, but they don't say Bey. So I think when they say a prayer, they're acknowledging Amen Bey. Our joy on this occasion was very great, for we had not been together on the physical plane for some 2 years. During that time, while working out of the body, each had been occupied with his own individual activity, which necessitated our being in different channels at the inner levels. The great room was brilliantly lit, and the glorious fragrance of roses and lotuses bloom filled the air. The sweetness, most delightful music floated in from everywhere. Many had already come, and others were arriving. Every few moments, we noticed a large object covered with gold cloth that had been placed in the center of the room. But as no explanation was offered concerning it, we remained silent. Saint Germain presented us to the guests, then led the way into the room filled with the rare musical instruments. We saw a great pipe organ and 4 harps made of a substance like pearl, with posts of gold and sounding boards, and upper parts being constructed with white metal. The high strings of the harp were silver wound, the bass one gold, and the material which they were made gave forth a tone that combined the sound produced by metal, wood, and the human voice. The tone of these instruments can only be known by hearing, for they were different from anything which has ever been used in the outer world of music in the West. The sound produced by the unusual material more nearly resembled some of the wonderful tones of the Esraj, E-S-R-A-J, an instrument used in India. I think it's a little box that it's like a little accordion or something. I could be wrong. We say 4 violins almost made the substance that looked like pearl, but the resonance is far beyond that of any known wood. The strings were wound with gold and silver and produced the beauty of tone almost beyond description. We heard all these instruments play later that evening. Returning to the great audience, Saint Germain showed Lotus and our son the beautiful portrait, which had been already recently transferred from the temple of Mitla in Oaxaca, Mexico. He escorted them through the record room where they were shown the evidence of my former observations with him. For the work being done during the New Year celebration, all members of the Royal Teton were clothed in plain gold robes of gorgeous material with the emblem of the Brotherhood on the left breast embroidered, so it looked like dark blue velvet, the same shade as the great panel that formed the cosmic mirror. There were 70 men, 35 ladies, and presiding Master Lanto, who is the blessed brother in charge of this retreat. When all had been assembled who belonged to the branch, he stepped forwards and addressed them, saying, "It is now 11 o'clock, the time for our meditation. Tonight let us pour out adoration unto the great light. Feel the one with our own divinity in 30 minutes, and during the following 30 minutes, know the oneness of Venus with our earth. All take their accustomed stations and form an ellipse in the center of the room. For 1 hour it seemed as though hundreds and 106 golden figures were united in one breath, so completely were they all in unison. At the close of the meditation, a joyous burst of music filled the immense hall, and Lanto stepped before the great mirror. He extended his hand, and a tremendous blaze of light flashed forth upon it, revealing a group of people far in the distance, surrounded by gold, rose, and violet light. Dazzling in its beauty and radiance, they drew near, and the same glorious, wondrous colors filled the great audience chamber, giving everyone a tremendous feeling of uplift and power. Presently, 12 guests from Venus stood in the midst in robes in white, scintillating garments, surpassing all power of description. There were 7 gentlemen and 5 ladies, all extremely handsome. 6 of the men were at least 6 feet 4 in height, and the 7th fully 2 inches taller than the rest. The ladies were about 5 feet 10. All had light brown hair, with the exception of the tall master, and his was a glorious pure gold. Their brilliant, piercing blue eyes were beautiful and fascinating. The tall master gave the salutation to the east, touching his heart and forehead with the fingertips of his right hand, and bowed low before Lanto. The others also came forwards, greeted him, and were presented to those assembled. Lantos gave a brief address of welcome, only the following part of which is permitted to be recorded. In the presence of the one supreme God and those of the Great White Brotherhood assembled here, these 12 guests from Venus are made members of the Brotherhood of the Royal Teton. The tall master was made presiding master for the evening. He acknowledged the welcome, stepped into the center of the room, and caused the golden cloth to be removed from the object that it covered. Lo, before us stood the 3 crystal caskets, still containing the sustained bodies of Lotus, our son, and myself. They looked as if the forms had just gone to sleep, glowing with perfect health. The presiding masters turned to us and said, "Are you ready?" And we 3 answered in the affirmative. "Then take your places by the containers," he addressed. We obeyed, and immediately a marvelous radiance gathered and drew close around the bodies and ourselves. The intensity increased rapidly until we must have been invisible in the outer sight. In a few moments, the radiance diminished, and to our amazements, the caskets were empty. We stood there clothed in these bodies we had laid aside so long ago, which had been sustained and purified by the flame of life. During these many centuries, the transformation was amazing, and feeling cannot be described, for we were as much surprised as the reader. However, the human side of anyone, even at its best, knows so little of the tremendous wonders existing everywhere around us all the time. The infinite possibilities within every plane of life, that all things are possible, and the closer we live in love and recognition of our divinity, the more these wonders throughout creation will be revealed in our individual lives. The experiment had proved a success. As we moved about among the brothers and sisters, all congratulated the masters and ourselves upon the accomplishment. They greatly rejoiced that so strange an experiment had become a mighty truth, many commenting upon how much these bodies resemble the ones of the visitors from Venus. The crystal caskets were then removed to their room, and the wonderful musical instrument brought into the audience chamber. Saint Germain played the first number on the great organ, a composition he called Hearts of the Future. It seemed to me the most delicate, colorful, yet powerful music that ever came from an organ on earth. When he played, the most beautiful colors, gorgeous past description, poured through the atmosphere of the enormous room. A group played the next number, and Master Saint Germain at the organ, 3 of the lady masters from Venus and Lotus played 2 harps, 2 of the brothers from Venus, our son, and I played 4 violins. When all were in readiness, the words, "Souls in Ecstasy," flashed out above the organ as Saint Germain played the prelude. All entered deeply into the fullness and joy of the marvelous music. The volume and power swelled into such magnitude it seemed as though the beauty and glory of that joy must end forth enough God's consciousness to lift all mankind, yes, even the earth itself, into everlasting perfection. There were 4 more numbers played with tremendous power to lift and harmonize everyone until we felt as if every mountain would float away. At the close of the music, the instruments were returned to their room, and the presiding master sat all in proper order before the great mirror. He took his place at the point of Earth's triangle. The scene of wonder from Venus began to appear, he explaining every detail that did not explain itself. The pictures revealed much of their system of education, showing astronomical instruments whose perfection would make the scientific world of today speechless with admiration and astonishment, and the geologist's equipment for examining the interior of the strata of the planet of both Venus and the Earth. We saw inventors and several of their tremendous discoveries surpassing our fondest imaginations. Many of these inventions, explained the master, will come into use on Earth in the golden crystal ages we have now entered. And this is the age of Aquarius, where we're going to have lots and lots of all kinds of things to help heal and fix the planet and do all kinds of things. I'm going to read until this chapter is done, and then Cindy can come in and talk. There's only a few more pages. Some of the principal inventions that are to be utilized on Earth were explained, and could humanity have seen them, it would take heart and be tremendously encouraged in regard to the future. It may be these pictures from Venus will be taken up and described in the separate work later, providing permission can be obtained. The scene from Venus finished, and those concerning the Earth came to the screen. Many changes were shown to take place in the next 70 years. These affects Europe, Asia, India, North and South America, and reveal to us that regardless of all appearances at the present time, the sinister forces attempting to create chaos and destruction throughout the world will be completely destroyed. When that is accomplished, the mass of humanity will turn to the great God presence within each heart and also governing the universe. Peace shall reign on earth, and man send out goodwill to man. This revelation was stupendous. The closing scenes followed next, and those concerned principalities, the United States, in the next century. So these things are all starting now. The progress and advancement she will make is almost unbelievable. And when all these things activate in Central America and all over, that's why I read the Keys of Enoch, because it talked about these things too. These things are true for the great God law, makes no mistake, and revelations of the new year, night are God's eternal true records. Certain great souls were shown who would awaken, be raised, and added to the hosts of ascended ones to carry forwards as great progress. The presiding master then reminded those present of the blessed Qumras, and in a voice filled with love and adoration, gave the following explanation in tribute to them. The 7 Qumras, whom some inner students have known as Lords of the Flame from Venus, were the only ones from this entire system of planets who of their own free will and infinite love offer to guard the children of Earth and assist their upward progress. They came and gave transcendental help here at the most critical period of Earth's growth. It was a time of initiation that is most dangerous in the life of the planet and its humanity, but through their protection and guidance, the goal was attained and mankind has been enabled to reach the greater heights. Many of the brothers understood that every 2,500 years the Qumras release a great increase outpouring of cosmic love, wisdom, and energy. This blazing light and transcendent radiance flooding the earth and its inhabitants, penetrating all, is a tremendous lifting process and gives a forward impulse to the growth of the entire earth as well as its humanity. Just preceding each of these great outpourings, extraordinary physical disturbances occur, and general unrest is felt throughout by the people. Such disturbance is due to the discord that has accumulated during the last of the preceding period. The generation of such inharmony is due always to the wandering away from the fundamental principles of life and the human sense disturbance that pollutes the outer activities of mankind, the earth, and its atmosphere. It is to cleanse this and bring humanity back to the original purity of life that cataclysm action takes place. It is following these periods the Qumras release enormous outpourings of light to illumine and strengthen Earth's children, ultimately enabling them to make the supreme attainment. We are approaching another such period, and this time the release of the great cosmic love, wisdom, and energy. The mighty ray of light will not only quicken the minds of the race, but the atomic structure of the earth as well, making it more luminous in our solar system. And that's where Earth Mother is going to the fifth dimension. She's not staying at 3D. Never since the great lords of the flame came to the earth have conditions permitted such a great outpouring to take place as will occur ere long. Many who have seemed to become hardened by their former activities will awaken, as it were almost overnight, and feel the nearness of the great God presence within each heart. Many who have been meek and humble, but holding close to the inner presence, will suddenly blaze forth, amazing themselves as well as others by the transcendent light. They will manifest. All will be done by the power of God's love, and the humanity will truly begin to realize that is the height of folly for one part of God's creation to war against another part. The desire to bless others instead of themselves will almost involuntarily enter into the hearts of mankind and send forth a light that will illume the rest of the way of perfection. Selflessness alone holds the children of this sphere in the bondage and misery which have been allowed to express upon the earth. But when the light of the Christ expands the love in the heart, selflessness flees and returns to the sea of forgetfulness. Great natural physical changes will take place. Two great centers of light will pour forth their blessings to humanity. One, the glorious glistening presence of Shambhala in its dazzling radiance, and the other will appear in the United States. Not, however, where any so far have been led to believe, but at point which has not yet been indicated to other channels of the world. During the present activity of assistance and intense outpouring of light by the great ascended host who minister to the children of earth, hundreds of humanity will find their present physical bodies being quickened by the rapid rising of the vibratory rate. As this is completed, will realize that human physical limitations and discord have dropped away like an old worn out garment, and that they, the children of light, stand forever at one with the flame of everlasting life, and the perfection of eternal youth and beauty, a visible, tangible reality. Beloved children of earth, you stand upon the threshold of ages, its doors being held open by the great ones of love, who ever invite you to walk consciously by their sides in the light. No matter what the activity in the world without, walk with the light and in the light regardless of appearance. Then will you find the Master of Lights who have trod this self-same path before you, ever watches and stands by your side, revealing the true way. The cycles changes, and we enter a new dispensation that brings with it a safer, more powerful, and yet rapid means by which the one climbing the path of attainment is enabled to hold permanent contact with the great cosmic light. In this new order, the disciples, for the neophytes, will be the focusing and maintaining of his attention entirely upon the three highest centers of the body, and he will do all his work at these points. Only the centers in the heart, throat, and head will receive conscious consideration and attention. So people have to really understand the heart, throat, and head. It's not in the base chakra, not in the yoga of the base chakra, sacral, or the solar plex. It's bigger than that. The entire effort of the aspirant will be to hold his attention upon these, for only by looking away from the lower centers will he ever be able to raise out of the misery and limitation. The center at the top of the head is the highest focus in the human body, and there the silver cord of liquid light from the great source of creation enters. When the attention of the mind is held steadfast upon this, the doors of the soul is opened, and the threefold activity of pure white light encircles the waist just below the solar plex, cutting off forever the destructive activities of the animal nature in man. And those are the three lower human chakras. I always talked about that. Base, solar plex, and sacral. Those are the three earth centers. And those are going to get shut off when there's this band, and we're only going to work with these up here. Yoga, never. How many people are up here? Not too many. Too busy running around in their base chakra or stuck in their three lower chakras. When the attention of the mind is held steadfast upon, the door of the soul is opened, and the threefold activity of the pure white light encircles the waist just below the solar plex, cutting off forever the destructive activity of the animal nature in man. This permits his soul to leap forth into its complete divine activity, united once more with perfection of its source, and eternally thereafter master of all human creation, which means the discords of earth. And if you're going to be in the future, you got to go through the fourth and fifth dimension, and that's why I say you got to burn out the sacral energy. You got to disconnect those three lower chakras, and only the universe can do it for you. Sincere students should meditate frequently upon the perfect action of the golden light within the head, for it will illumine and teach the outer mind all good things. This is the light of God within. One should feel it filling his entire consciousness of his body and world. This is the light that lighten every man that cometh into the world. There is no human being in existence who has not some of this light within him. And when I pray on Sunday, I say the light come into your mind and stays there, illumines it. There are many throughout the earth who are rapidly awakening and feeling the mighty surge of this inner light pouring itself out through them, and thus finding great expression. If these will rigidly keep themselves harmonious, unflinching, hold their attention upon the God Self within, accept and visualize the full activity of its dazzling radiance, they can encircle themselves in the threefold activity of the white light. This cuts off the discordant creation of the outer world. Beloved brothers and sisters, it will be our great joy and privilege to meet with you in January and July of each year here in your retreat, because of this nearness and outpouring and all-controlling God light, which will soon be flooding America from shore to shore. Now all the crystal containers are being brought in. Let us meditate deeply upon the oneness of Venus and the earth, the omnipresence of divinity abiding in form. We remained in deep silence for about 10 minutes. Then the presiding master instructed us three to take our place beside the casket. He made the sign of the heart and the head, crossed his hands upon his chest, and called upon the God Presence, the mighty creator of the universe and all that it contains, the one omnipresent God. We await the manifestations of thy great benefic presence. A soft, rose-colored, luminous essence enveloped ourselves and the containers, drawing close about us. Suddenly, a great shaft of dazzling white light entered the enveloping radiance, remained 3 or 4 minutes, and gradually faded from sight. As we looked into the container, the three bodies were resting within them, observing each other. We were again clothed in the bodies the Master Saint Germain had prepared for us, and because of which we were enabled to visit the great assembly in the Royal Teton. The presiding master blessed those assembled, the brotherhood of the Royal Teton, and all upon earth, promising to be with them again the following July. The 12 from Venus then took their stations upon the circle in the floor of the audience hall. The entire mountain trembled with mighty God power which they drew, and the light thus focused took the form of an enormous eagle, its body violet, and its head and feet of gold. The entire room became filled with blazing white light, forming one end of the great pathway of a luminous essence, on which the 12 radiant beings returned to their homes in Venus. The supreme vision those assembled gazed upon and surpassed anything words can describe. As the great vibratory activity was lowered, a wondrous crystal radiance illumined the cosmic mirror, and the words, "Peace and illumination to all the earth and its inhabitants." Blessings from Venus appeared across its surface. Each guest touched his heart and forehead, crossed his hands upon his chest, and bowed in acceptance of the mighty outpouring. All passed before Lanto, and receiving individual instructions for the work of the 1931, then sat in deep silence and adoration unto the great light. At the end of the meditation, a glorious burst of music filled the great hall, and the heads were bowed to receive his blessing. His voice, clear, beautiful, and resonance, rang out. There is nothing supreme but God. There is nothing eternal and real but the Christ. There is nothing true but the light. These three are the one. All else is shadow. Remember, shadow hides, shadow misleads, and shadow makes mankind stumble. He who walks the pathway of light stands true to the Christ and looks always Godward. Live in the world of his own untouched by the seething vortex about him, yet every workings in it, while the shadows last. These he turns his light unto, and thus compels them to pass into the sea of forgetfulness. There is no happiness apart from facing and adoring the one great God, the source of all. There is nothing permanent but Christ. There is no way to proceed through the universe but on the pathway of light. If you will arm yourself with the eternal understandings of life, swear allegiance only to the source of God, stand true to the Christ, carry the light, you will accept as your code of honor and obligation to love and bless life, no matter in what form it may be expressing, wherever you meet it. This is the eternal plan of existence, and whoever knows that may proceed anywhere in the universe, explore all it contains, and yet be untouched by whatever shadows mankind has created. In its forgetfulness of whence it sprang, God alone is great, and only unto the source of all greatness does all glory belong. He who knows only his source and refuses aught else is wise indeed, but for he becomes permanent happiness and is a master wherever he moves. Then and then alone may he become creator of worlds. Upon these he bestows his happiness, and in this activity really lives the divine plan for all. Members of the Brotherhood of the Royal Keton, reveal thou this plan to the outward children of the earth. Shed thy radiance upon their self-created shadows, and point them the way to the great central sun, our transcendent source. My light enfolds you, my power upholds you, my love breathes through you, and those who seek their home in the light. Beloved humanity, may the same mighty radiance shed its light to illumine, heal, and bless you with the divine love, which will ever hold all close in the eternal embrace of the one supreme light. America, God bless you. Clothe you now with the everlasting shadowless light. So that's that book.